Fact of life is here again. Live on Facebook with Abbilicious. Oh my people, join us. 7:30 p.m. UK time on Wednesday. The truth is being said or told as it is. Fact of life is here again. Fact of life.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Facts of Life with Abbilicious, where the truth is being said and told the way it is. Thank you all for tuning in. I've missed you guys so much. Unfortunately for us, it was a sad couple of weeks because we lost our darling mother of our producer, and we had no choice but to, for the respect that we have for her, to go offline for a while. Anyway, we're back in action. Let's go back to the program. It's great being on air again, and we are here with some beautiful, wonderful guests, fantastic gentlemen, who are going to be talking about the topic for discussion today, which is towards domestic violence on men and spousal abuse that men suffer. I've got three fantastic guests. As usual, we're trying to get the connection in Nigeria, but unfortunately, Emmanuel Nwabiko is having difficulty, but never mind. He will be communicating with us on the live stream, making comments regarding this important issue. We've always addressed women domestic violence, but it's time we talk about our men. What is happening? Because a lot of men are also suffering domestic violence, believe it or not, and spousal abuse. Some are too ashamed to talk about it. Now, my guest on my left, I've got the one fantastic Mike Brooks. He's going to be introducing himself properly to you guys. He owns an NGO, an umbrella NGO. About, is it 60 people, 60 organizations under him? He's a fantastic person. He is a domestic violence expert on men. And also, I've got the fantastic Abby G, who is a relationship expert. He's also been around. He's written a fantastic book called
Oh Lord, Why Did I Get Married?
Oh, can you believe that? Oh Lord, why did... But let me tell you something. The book is quite good. It's not about, condemning marriage, but it's just the expression of what people say when there is an issue. He's also an expert on domestic violence of men. And we also have the fantastic Emmanuel Nwabiko, who is actually trying to connect from Nigeria. But Emmanuel, you know the routine. He was my guest a while ago. He is a human rights activist. He's also, his information can be found on Wikipedia. My gentlemen are going to be introducing themselves and a little bit about their biography, what they do, before we go on to the topic. So, Mac, yeah, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm Mark Brooks. I'm the chairman of the Mankind Initiative charity, and we support male victims of domestic abuse. I've been in that position for 10 years, and over that time we've supported thousands of men who've called our helpline, who look at our website, and also a number that we give one-to-one support. I'm also involved in International Men's Day, which is a worldwide event. It's big in the UK, but it's really big around the world now. Over 50 countries actually celebrate International Men's Day, and that's to be used to help men who are vulnerable, such as boys who are not being educated properly, and men who are sleeping rough on our streets. So that's what I do.
Thank you very much, Mark. Over to you, Abe.
Hello, hi, my name is Coach Abe. I'm a relationship sex solution coach, and also deal with domestic violence, both male and female. And I've been doing this for the past 15 years. I've been involved in so many initiatives just like Mark, and God has been good to us in terms of that way. We help both male and female in domestic violence, particularly in this age where it is becoming more of a thing. So I know, stay tuned. I know you're show is gonna be a wonderful show today.
Thank you very much, guys. Emmanuel, you know the story, you know what to do. You know, just type all your information on the comment box on our live stream for people to be able to read and know as well what you do on the human rights level. You're a fantastic person. It's just been a pity that every time we try to bring you on, there's always been this issue of you connected. Never mind, you're still one of us. Now, gentlemen, Mark, I'm gonna go to you. Why did you decide on this journey of helping men with domestic violence?
Well, I used to be an elected councillor, actually, and so one of the things that I found was that...
For which party was that?
It was for the Conservative
Party.
Oh, okay,
so, you're a councillor.
Yeah.
All right, then.
But anyway, I was a councillor for the Conservative Party some years ago, and what I did was I had a number of men who came to me for support. They were my constituents, if you like, and one of the things that I was trying to do was to try and help them because they were victims of domestic abuse, and I found it very, very difficult for people to believe that they were victims, to find support for them, and actually to give them that helping hand. So when I stopped being an elected councillor, I decided to get involved with a charity that supported men who are in this situation, and 10 years later I'm still here.
Oh wow, that is deep. And it's quite good to know that you know the passion that you have. Not that is it that you also as a person have not really been in that shoe, or is it something that people around you have been through, like you rightly said? Is it one of the two that made you more passionate that this is what you need to do, or you've seen a lot of sufferers?
Well, thank you. Well, I've been lucky. I haven't been a victim of domestic abuse, but what it did was that when I had met men who were, it really opened my eyes to many other men who were actually victims as well. Friends, family, people I'd met down the pub. So I felt that it was really important that when I was looking to volunteer for a charity, this was a particular subject area that I thought that I could add some help and experience and expertise to. So, as I said, luckily I've not been a victim, but no men who have.
Okay, we are going to go on a quick break due to some technical errors. We will be back shortly, guys. It's getting heat here, so we're going to definitely get back to the topic.
He's making headlines. He's my life's work.
He won't be ignored. He's part of my family.
He's my pride.
My courage. My inspiration.
He's you.
And me.
And together, we can beat prostate cancer. Visit prostatecanceruk.org and join the fight with Prostate Cancer UK.
Welcome back, guys. We sort of had to quickly deal with a technical glitch that was happening. Now, Marcus just told us a little bit about the reason why he decided to go into domestic violence for men. Now, Abe, your turn. And also, tell us a little bit about the book that you wrote, Oh God, Why Me? Thank you.
Yeah, so I have a book called Oh Lord, Why Did I Get Married? It's about questions singles and marriage, and also married people. Basically asks me before they get married, and also in the process of people who got married. I mean, if people were paying me each time they ask me that question, oh Lord, why did I get married? I should be a billionaire by now. So oftentimes people ask that question, but in their single stage. So people say, why am I not married? And then for married people, they after the honeymoon period has been over and the reality sets in, and people ask those questions. And that's why I've written a package, a book together, and I've brought that book out so that it can help people, both singles and marriage, and so that it can help people prepare much more better for relationships, and the answers to their questions are in the book.
I think Mark wants to say something, or you were going to ask some question?
No, I was just saying that book, book, sounds fascinating, and
Yes.
it's certainly one that I'm going to recommend to the people who contact us.
Thank you very much. Now, men, I need to. This is where we are now. The topic for discussion: violence, domestic violence, and spousal abuse on men. What do you guys think? Because this is an epidemic, something people don't like talking about. We talk more of the women. I've just got a friend of mine, Isiaku, who's just written on the, it said, interesting, but I prefer deep discussions on women violating men in matrimonial homes. And that's what we're talking about, Isiaku, because we're sort of like going to be asking these questions. You guys can phone in on 0208 0046 100 to ask questions from our experts here who have also got the experience and expertise on it. So we need to ask this question: what is going on?
Well, in terms of the figures, there's around 1 in 6 men will be a victim of domestic abuse in their lifetime, and they're figures from around the world, and they're slightly less than the figures for women. It's around 1 in 4 women who will be victims of domestic abuse, and often the same issues come up time and again about a female perpetrator of domestic abuse wanting to control and have power over a man in their relationship, in exactly the same way in terms of where a male is the domestic abuser, wants the power and control over a woman. But where some of the differences are is that for men, they fear that when they're a victim, especially if they've been psychologically abused, emotionally abused, continually told they're useless and rubbish and not quite a man, and then that can escalate into violence. What some of the issues then can mean for men is that they feel that somehow they're weak, they feel that they're to blame, they fear that nobody will believe that they're actually a victim, and also they fear that if they come forward to the police or their GP or somebody in social services or a friend or family, that they will be laughed at. So what that means is that men who are in domestic abuse and abusive relationships are often at risk of not being able to escape because it undermines their own sense of what it means to be a man.
Thank you very much, Mark. Over to you, Abe.
Yeah, just carrying on from where Marcus stops, being an African, to come forward and if you're a man and you've been abused by women, it seems as a taboo. It seems like, because often we men are portrayed as the macho one. And also carrying on from the Bible, we're supposed to be the head, the leader of the home, and oftentimes, based on culture, just like Mark said, but particularly a lot of domestic violence, male domestic violence, is taking place in cultures like this, and a lot of the Western society. It doesn't, when you look at the statistics in Africa and stuff, you tend to have more male who abuse women. But in this culture, it tends to be more of the women one, particularly in cases where the guy is ransomed to the lady based on immigration status and stuff like that. So you have a situation where a lady has brought a guy into the country, and just for this guy, before he can get his papers and stuff, the lady then end up becoming an abuser, a controller in that relationship. And because all in the name of, like he said, Mark said, and in the fear of police and immigration officer, or maybe the guy is not working, so the lady is the breadwinner. In such situation, we see that men are silenced. And like again, Mark mentioned it earlier on, in a situation, a man would be laughed on if he said his wife was abusing him, or whosoever is in relationship was abusing him. And so most men end up hiding. But in my little years of doing this, I've come in contact with a lot of people on internet, because again, on internet you can have your identity not known to people. So I tend to have people who send me emails, people who had me on Facebook, people who in seminars ask questions on behalf of, they will say, okay, let me ask you a question about a friend of mine. But I know they will technically referring to themselves indirectly. And we have situations like that, and it's very good today that we're going to be talking about it.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. Emmanuel, the same question goes for you. Please type your on the human rights aspect of things. Now, is it something that you're witnessing more now? Because you mentioned something pertaining to the way the African people, I mean the Afro-Caribbean men, it's more of it that is the women being abused, but we're getting a lot of men coming out from that end saying that no, they are also suffering domestic violence and spousal abuse. So how is that, being managed now? Because it seems that there was a time, yes, men don't talk about this, but now they're beginning to come out. What do you think?
Well, I think there's two issues at play here. I think firstly, more men are starting to come forward and talking about that, and partly that's because society's changing slightly, very slowly but slightly, so it creating conditions to allow more men to come forward. In addition, actually, you get more women who are supporters of men trying to get help for them. So on helplines, for example, you get lots of mothers calling, lots of daughters, lots of sisters, lots of female friends, because the man won't get help. So the mother will try and get help for them. And it was a classic case on our helpline about last year, where we had the grandmother, the mother and the sister on the phone at the same time trying to get help for the man in their life. Wow. And I think the last point is that we have tended to see in society a gradual increase in the number of women who are violent. It's not a huge number, but that's gradually increasing, and all of that comes together to create conditions where you're seeing more men who are victims, but also more men now trying to get help and escape those relationships.
Fantastic.
Yeah, just like you said as well, and particularly also this age of social media has also helped, because now people have in the 10-20 years ago, we didn't have the power of the Facebooks, the Twitters, bloggers. So now you have people who write about such topics. You have new movies, like Disclosure was a big one when that movie came out, and a lot of movies that people are now highlighting these things out, because back in the days we didn't have those avenues where people could express their feelings or opinions out there. But today, when we have the social media, and all it takes is a computer or a phone, you can have your say. You can have your saying out there. But back in the days, it wasn't, and that's why the rate of suicide men as well. Men don't tend to speak. Women are, people say women talk. It's true. Yes. Women can talk, and that's why particularly during Christmas, you tend to have a lot of men who commit suicide and stuff. I mean, one was in the media today as well. Yeah. A man who jumped, in a stock exchange, earns big money. God knows what's happening, but it
was probably depression. Yeah. Do you think that is linked to a lot of men having depression? Yeah. Because, basically, especially when you have a family, because of the situation that has happened, where there's a separation, and the guy then, because of the things he suffered, then they use the child or the children as a bait, as a weapon.
Yes. I mean, certainly the issue around children is a significant problem. I mean, there's a number of ways it comes out. I mean, firstly, men, and to be fair, women as well. I mean, men won't leave an abusive relationship when there's children in the home, because they're worried about leaving a violent woman with their children. So a man won't leave because he wants to protect the children, unless he can take the children with him, which is often difficult. Secondly, we do see through difficult separations where the children are used as a weapon. Men do get threatened that if you leave, you'll never see your children again. We do have men calling our helpline to say, if you leave, I will tell the social services or the police that you've been abusing the children. And also we do see through the family courts, if it reaches that situation where men, when they have custody or child arrangement orders, turn up to see their kids for the weekend, and then suddenly have been denied access. They then have to go back to the courts, spend lots of money.
Yeah,
and in our view, that is a form of domestic abuse, because you're controlling your ex-partner through your children.
Oh, sad. Abe.
And that happens, like you said, that happens a lot, and we're seeing a lot of it more in the media out there now, that a lot of people are now using kids as weapons. Like I said earlier on, maybe it might be immigration status, might be money, and so many abuse comes in different formats. So people use various things to control. It's kind of their power tool, and like you said as well, and also because the society tends to believe the women more than the men. And so, I mean, if a man, I think there was a case a while ago, if a man reports a case to the police, they tend not to believe that story, but they take the women more serious. They take domestic
So how do you guys feel that men who are genuinely, because I've had some people inbox me about this topic that I was doing, a guy, I'm going to read out his little notes he wrote to me. He said for him personally, this was something long coming that should have been addressed, especially in the ethnic minority society. With from your Caucasian society, obviously it is something that is being worked at, but the problem is becoming such an epidemic that at the end of the day, how do you differentiate a man who's generally been abused by a woman or the partner from somebody who is using that as an excuse, who is an abuser themselves, but then pretend that they're being abused? Guys, do you want to take that?
Well, I think that the main way you do that is by assessing the situation and asking particular questions. And to be honest, if it's on a one-to-one basis, it's very difficult on a helpline to do this. But if it's on a one-to-one basis, you can often tell. I mean, your instincts will tell whether somebody is actually telling the truth. But it happens always round. So you do get some men who will say that they're being abused when they're not. But also we get a number of women who say that they're being abused when actually they're abuser. And what you're looking at is just people who are trying to have power and control over other people through making false allegations. So it's an issue for both men and women.
How do you? Yeah, go on, Abe.
Okay. Yeah, I think what I normally encourage people to do in relationships, what often happens when isolation comes in relationships. God hasn't made us to be one person, to isolate ourselves from people. So I often, whether it be marriage, whether it be in any relationship, I encourage people to be transparent and be open and have a network of people, whether it be families, like you said earlier on, whether it be neighbors, to have people that you are accountable to in one way or the other. For some people it might be their religious organization, for some people it might be a family unit, for some people it might be their friends unit, somebody you can trust. We oftentimes I hear this statement, I don't trust nobody. God did not make us isolation.
Yes.
God made us to interdepend on each other. Nobody can produce his own food, can produce his own drink, can produce everything. God, we need each other. And so we need to change that mindset from people so that people know that they are in a unit. And so when you know there's somebody you can open up to or share things with, a problem, like they said, a problem talked is the problem solved. So, and I like BT advert. It's good to talk. It's always good to talk because you will get help. Oftentimes when we don't talk, we think that situation is particular to us. But when you start to talk with other people, you start to see that, well, everybody goes through a similar thing. and then you get answers to your
So
questions.
is it more of communicating with the right kind of people,
Yes.
or, you know, like your helpline and, you know, making sure that there's help out there? But what I need to know, guys, is, you know, we're talking about this, but there was an incident that happened in the United States about a guy who, I don't know if you heard that story, where she was brutally abusing him, and he tried to tell the authorities, but you know, they refused to believe that, you know, because he's not a very he's a tall guy with muscle built and stuff, and she was about a tiny person, and they're looking at him and thinking, how can she be abusing you? But what are the things to look out for, guys? What are the things to show that, you know, because some men would not, even if they're being boxed up, they've been hit, they've been abused, attacked, put down, you know, make them to feel like a failure. You know, what are the signs? Because I know some men who lash out once they've been abused, they then become an abuser themselves, going into another relationship saying, you know what, I'm not going to let another woman treat me that way. So how do you stop that vicious circle? What are the things to look out for?
Well, I think firstly, things have changed. So if you go to the police or the social services or speak to friends and family, you are more likely to be believed now than you were perhaps 10 years ago. And I think that's important. It's still important to go to the police. But also what we advise men to do is that they need to keep a diary of events, they need to keep photographs, they need to think about how they can escape from the situation. They also need to confide with a friend or family member, because men in this situation can't go it alone, especially because they need somewhere to escape to. Men are practical beasts. They want action plans. They want, right, what do I need to do? And then they may need help to do it, or they will just go ahead and do it themselves. And we get lots of men who use our helpline, and we've got lists of things about what men can do. And those men will often see what's on the website and other websites, and they will just go ahead and do it and not tell anyone what the situation is. So men need to keep diaries, they need to keep, they need to tell the police, they need to keep photographs. And the other key thing is that how you can tell the signs is normally a change in behaviour. So if you've got a man who's often, who's a family man, he's in contact with his wider family, he's outgoing, he's got friends, and he also sees lots of work colleagues, and suddenly he disappears from view. You've also got a man who suddenly becomes quite nervous, a change in personality.
More or less the same opposite of what a woman goes through.
Absolutely. So that sort of thing that a woman goes through is exactly what a man goes through, hiding injuries, for example. But people are slightly less attuned to actually looking for those signs in a man than a woman. So if a woman starts acting like that, society and people will think, is she a victim of domestic abuse? People would not necessarily ask those same questions and go through that same thought process. And so my plea is, you know, for society and people as individuals, to put your stereotypes away about what it is to be a victim of domestic abuse. And if you see a man acting in the same way as a woman does, who you think would be a victim of domestic abuse, perhaps he is as well.
Fantastic.
So yeah, just to add on to what Marcus said as well, basically I always say to people, the first sign is cry out for help. And you know, like you said, reach out to someone. And today, I mean, like today's age, we're in a Google age. Google out information, Google out centers. There will be an organization there, like Marcus from 60. You know, there will be always an organization out there to help you. It's best to cry out for help and get help. It's just the illustration I always say to people, it's like you're drowning in the middle of a river and you're keeping quiet. You know, what you want to do is cry for help, and so that you can get help.
Thank you very much, guys. We are going to be going through the comment box because there's quite a lot of people putting comments and stuff. Also, our free our number to call us on is 0208 0046 option 9. If you guys want to ask our lovely guest any questions regarding, the domestic violence on men, and domestic violence and spousal abuse on men, and what you feel you need to contribute, the comment box is also there for you guys to write in. We will be back after the break. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Amen Estate.
Oh yeah, let's talk on the matter. You see the light never blink when you act.
Everything clean and proper, and there's no place better.
You know, amen, safe and secure. Now you know, everything safe and secure.
When you find anywhere where they shop,
even if you're from abroad,
Amen Estate you should call. Always the package you sure so.
Go tell your sister and your brother, tell your friends and family, they happen at.
So don't get left behind. At Amen Estate you will find peace of mind.
Amen, safe and secure. Everything safe and secure.
Welcome to Amen Estate, brought to you by Red Brick Homes International Limited.
Thank you very much, guys. Welcome back to Facts of Life with Abbilicious, where the truth is being said or told the way it is. Still on the topic, domestic violence and spousal abuse on men, and how much they're suffering, and it's not being as some sort of like a little taboo we don't talk about in society because of men's ego. Also for the fact that they see them as weaklings if they come out and do admit that they've been abused by their partners. This is becoming an epidemic. We're trying to talk about, currently we're on the topic on how we can differentiate if a man like a woman is being abused on a domestic violence, or if the man is being abused on spousal abuse, where spousal abuse comes from mental, emotional, physical, psychological, mentally, morally, where they can be from verbal words to demoralize the person, destroy the man's ego, emotionally, mentally, where the man thinks, this is who I've been made to feel that I am, and end up going into another relationship, going to abuse another woman or man or whatever, or then become an abusive father as well to their children because of the situation. Now, guys, we were talking earlier on, what is the difficult thing that you're finding currently pertaining to making sure that there's a lot of helpful men out there who, going through this? Because I know, like we were saying earlier on, it is difficult getting the funding and all that, but what are you doing as an organization, as a relationship expert? How are you guys collaborating to make sure that, something is done?
So in terms of what we're doing, funding is a problem. The vast majority of the funding is for female victims, and certainly we wouldn't want any money taken away from supporting female victims and given to men, because there isn't enough money to go into support women either. But what we're doing is we're working with other charities. We're working with local police forces and councils to make sure that there is a service in every town and in every city that provides help for men. And often they're services that have traditionally supported female victims, and now they've been able to get a small pot of money and been able to open their door to male victims as well. So that's been really important. And the other thing really for lots of those services that help men is that men often want anonymous services. Okay. They want one-to-one services, so they don't want to be in a group with other male victims.
Why is that though? Why is that?
Primarily it's because they don't want to be judged by another man as being less of a man. So if you're in a room and you've got other men, you don't want to think whether another man is going to judge you as being less of a man,
because you're not able to handle your business.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about kind of male pride, the issues that we talked about men's view of being the provider in a family, of being strong, for example, and men don't want to admit any other weakness towards other men. And I'll be honest, what we find is that nearly all of the services that are aimed at men are actually run by women. And when men call our helpline, we only have women on the helpline. It's not deliberate, but only women apply for those sorts of roles, and we never get any men who are not comfortable.
How do we then get men to do something about this? I want you to, Abby.
One of the things we do is like myself, I go to schools, go to churches, organizations, both for male and female, so that because the more information you give out there, the more people would be more aware of this, and so also, like what Mark said, also encourage a men group where people who suffer similar things can share experiences with one another, and then they can, then more people would tend to come out as well. And also, it's just educate people about things like this, both to the male and to the female. Even some female don't know that certain abuse are abused until when verbal abuse and stuff. And some people don't. Some people just think, oh well, that's normal. But when I've been in a place when I've started to ally these things, a lady then came to me and said she didn't know that that can affect a man as well, saying, oh, I thought it was man enough to handle things, So people have different beliefs, different mindset about things, but the more we go out there and educate people about it, speak about it, and not shy away from it, just like what you're doing, and people, the more information we get out there, the better it will be outside.
Fantastic, guys. I'm going to quickly read some of the some of the comments that people have been writing on the comment box to talk about domestic violence. Let's have a look. Basically, some people are saying it's a good, interesting topic. They feel that, at the end of the day, this is something that people should address more often. We have quite a lot of people thinking, well, like somebody said earlier on, this is something that needs to be spoken about a lot. I'm trying to get the, unfortunately it's gone up. But, okay, we need to understand one thing, which I want you guys to, how does that then help younger boys? Who are the statistics of where there's domestic violence on men, spousal abuse on men? Where is it meant to, on statistic levels, who are those who suffer it more from the age group? So, is it the elderly age or?
No, actually, the younger you are, the more likely you are to be a victim of domestic abuse. And there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, when people are growing up, when they're in their first, second, relationships, early relationships, they tend to be less stable in their own life. They often won't be married. They won't necessarily have a mortgage. They won't have children. So life for them is a bit more, is less stable. But the younger you are, the more likely you are able to, and this is what happens, to leave that relationship, because you haven't got so much actually to lose. So you haven't got a marriage, you haven't got children, you haven't got a mortgage potentially. So younger people, whilst they're more likely to be in an abusive relationship, they're more likely to be able to escape.
That's true. Like you said, I think it's best to catch people young when they are at a young age, educate them about such things, particularly before they get committed, like you said, before they get into marriage, because then the message goes round more. But when people are in a committed relationship, like we said in the beginning of the show, when people have kids, people don't want to leave relationship because of kids. Is
it really fair to be in an abusive relationship because of kids? This is what I find all the time, that as a woman as well who's been abused, they think, okay, because of my kids. And the same thing, like you're now saying, that men find it difficult. Is that not meant to be, you're making things worse for the innocent children?
Well, you are because the well, the issue is that how domestic abuse passes from one generation to another. So if you're a child and you're at home and it's an abusive relationship between your parents, when you become older and then form relationships, you will actually think that abuse between two adults is actually normal, and that it's an accepted way of adults to behave towards each other. So there is that risk if you are a man and stay in a relationship about what your children will see, but you have to protect your children, and that is far more important. And the key thing is to try and find a way of leaving and taking your children with you.
Should you then, is that nothing like counseling? Helping these people, these women who are abusive, is that no reason to, does it have to get to a point where they then become criminally persecuted for abusing their male partners?
I mean, it can,
because I know that some people might say, we're talking about the relationship from the woman's point of view, but also you have male to male, which we're not going to be going into today. But basically, how do you then help them? Because if a woman does not want to admit she is an abusive person, how would that help?
Well, I think from our point of view is that we always say that if you're a male victim, it's not your responsibility to help the person who's abusing you. Your responsibility is towards you of escaping and also taking your children with you. That's your responsibility.
But normally, what normally happens in the society, correct me if I'm wrong, the women are the ones who end up having the children. But if it was, the man being abused and he decides he wants his kids, how is society helping the man to have a connection with his children? Because normally they do leave the kids with the men, with the women.
Well, I think that's gradually changing, and that's why we encourage, again, if a man is a victim, that he goes to the police. See, because if you go to the police, not only are there issues around obviously criminal convictions, but you can get non-molestation orders, occupation orders,
what is it for our viewers? What is a non-molestation order?
Well, basically, it's an order that's given by a court that makes sure that you're able to protect yourself and your children from an abuser. So you have to go through the court process to get that. But the key thing is that it means that there's something on record that you're the victim, and that there is somebody who is the abuser. Once you've got that in play, then you're able to actually then escape more easily, because it then becomes a matter of official record about what is happening in that relationship.
And just to add to what you said, but where the problem is more, particularly for immigrants, for people who are coming from, who have overstayed their papers, is they are afraid of the law.
Yes.
So they see the law as against their side. And oftentimes, that's why I said you need to have a family unit around you or your community.
What if you don't have one? What if you don't have this thing? What if you're not able to get this people to listen to you? How then do you let people know as a man you're being abused? Because
there will be people who will listen to you, because your family will listen to you. You have
what's if, for instance, you don't have a family, close family to listen to, guys? How do you handle it? Because to be quite honest, I do a lot of domestic violence, and but what I've been doing now is because it works both ways, and we can't just keep saying it's just the women all the time. I've seen men, friends, close friends, who have been abused, and I know what it entails. Where emotionally, mentally, they then become drained. They're good men. They genuinely want the family unity. They want that to work, but they can't, because they're with a woman who does not appreciate who they are, who abuses them consistently, who attacks them verbally, physically, and because of the kind of man who they are, They can't do anything.
Can you imagine? All they did in 3 years is one signboard, one gatehouse, and one house. Yours is even better. You can see one signboard, one gatehouse, and one house within 3 years. In my own case, after 1 year, there was no longer a signboard. All phone numbers were unavailable. Ego if we go.
What? That's bad. As for me, I'm glad my steps were ordered to remain in state phase 2. I saw their history, capabilities, their investment. What they put into phase 1 in terms of roads, drainages, I mean, the whole infrastructure. I mean, they're legit. I felt safe joining phase 2, taking advantage of their introductory prizes.
Be smart, be wise. Key into Amen Estate Phase 2 from just 10 million naira per plot with a 20% initial deposit and the balance paid over a year, or homes from 37 million naira on the same terms. You too can live a quality lifestyle in a serviced development where everything works.
Sorry about that, but the volume was switched off. Now we're back. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. We have been having a brilliant time talking about violence, domestic violence, and spousal abuse on men, and the the way they're suffering, how society stigmatizes, and the challenges they face. Coming out to say, you know what, I am a victim of domestic violence and spousal abuse, and not being taken seriously by society, which we want the whole globe, around the world, every government, to please help men who are genuinely suffering domestic violence and spousal abuse. Yet the statistics might not be as much as a woman being, on the receiving end, but it's just to let you know that domestic violence is about men suffering, women suffering, and so do children. And we need to, educate people, create awareness that things like this is wrong in our society, and it needs to stop. So we want to go back and talk about the help that people do need. How can we help those who are actually the abusers, the violent ones? What can be done to help them? Because some people, if you go for counseling, you find it's a deep-rooted thing, because they've watched their mom abuse their dad, and to them that is something that they've grown up with and they think is the right thing to do. So how do you then create the awareness without also making them feel, because what normally happens with an abuser is they feel, because of the situation they're in, they're afraid to come out and say, you know what, I am an abuser. I have done things that I'm not proud of. But at the end of the day, society will judge me for coming out and, exposing, my weakness or what I have been doing. How do we then help them as well in order for this epidemic of violence, domestic violence and abuse to stop?
Well, I think it comes down to friends and family. I mean, there are counselling courses and others out there, but I think friends and family have to step in and actually speak to those who are abusers.
But do you realise a lot of people don't like to talk about this? They don't. If a family friend or something comes and says, you know what, I know you've been abusing your husband, they feel at the end of the day you're meddling in their business.
Yeah. But that's the only way you're going to change things, because unless friends and family step in or other support networks, they will continue to be an abuser, and they'll end up not only hurting people around them, but also they'll end up in prison. I mean, so yes. Really, that's the end point, is that 5,000 people in the UK, 5,000 women in the UK are convicted of domestic abuse every year. Now, the issue, therefore, is that we don't want any women prosecuted and convicted for domestic abuse, because we don't want people to commit domestic abuse. But that's the end point. If friends, family, support networks, church and others don't help change somebody's behaviour, they will end up going to prison.
Yeah, that's true. Like you said, we need to, particularly the helpline. There are loads of helplines, support network, and you can keep you don't have to reveal who you are on a lot of the phone lines. There's so much phone line and support lines available out there. You can Google it. Apart from that, also, you might be a part of a religious organization. You might not go to your particular maybe denominations or where you worship, but reach out to somebody out there, somebody who can help you, who can advise you. There's so many relationship coach, there's so many advisors, counselors out there. If you really want that help, you know, you have to reach out, and those people are not like you said, because I feel, and I have a lot of feeling for people who haven't got status, who haven't got papers, people who are living in the country illegally, and particularly they are the one who suffer domestic abuse most, whether it be women or men.
So you actually think it's more to do with whether the papers and stuff? No, I don't think so, because like I said, I have some friends, I've seen them go through abuse. I'm talking about physically, mentally, emotionally, that, you know, I've heard about those things, but because I've witnessed one or two, it's made me realize men are suffering too. And how do we help those men? You know, the people who are abusive, like I said earlier on, you're mentioning about, you know, the immigration issues and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Some people, the man genuinely loves the woman, wants to be with her, but she's got an aggressive, mad behavior.
What I meant by that is the higher percentage of people who are in that category of things. The statistic is more in that kind of relationship. I don't say they don't exist in other relationships. They do exist, but you have a higher percentage in that level than any other society or any loving relationship. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You tend to have more of those kind of relationships, and those kind of people don't cry out quickly because of the fear factor. So people need to break that fear and reach out to organizations or charities, people who can really help them indeed.
Okay, thank you guys, because I want you to have the last word. Talk about, we're going to be rounding up very soon because time is, you know, sorry guys about all the trying to get into the program. I know we're trying to get some people phoning in, but there's been a phone interference. So please bear with us. Any information that you guys want to talk about, you can leave it on the comment box. Also, you can download the Heritage app, where you can find all previous topic for discussions of Facts of Life with Abbilicious. You can also go on YouTube, we're there, Twitter, you name it, we're there. And also the Heritage website, which is www.heritageonline.com. And also we're on Instagram. So basically we're all over the place, making sure that we're able to bring our Facts of Life with Abbilicious on to you guys. So guys, I want you to tell us, from you, Mark. Emmanuel, I'm sorry, because I know there's been an interference on your end. He's a fantastic person. Emmanuel is a human rights activist who has been doing a fantastic job in Nigeria and in Africa in general. You can find him on Wikipedia. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's somebody that I really wanted him to talk about because he's very passionate about what he does. So, and and equally yourself, Mark, a good friend. Thank you very much. And Abe, whom I've known for years as well. So guys, you have the last say. Tell us, what do you think that would be, focused on, that would help people suffering domestic violence, and also how we can do this?
Well, for any men out there who are victims, the key thing is that you're not weak, you're not to blame, and also you're not alone. Get in contact with our helpline. Look at our website, mankind.org.uk.
Thank you very much, Mark, and you as well.
And if you want to reach me as well, I'm out there on all the other social platforms. Just type in on your Google Coach Abeji, and you'll find me. And also I'm on the web. My website is mycoachabeji.com.
Well, we have it. There we have it, guys. Domestic violence and spousal abuse is real. This is not about picking on women. This is about talking, emphasizing the importance of how terrible this also affects men. And we will be talking about how it affects women as well. But I want you all, and also children, we need to understand that, whatever we're doing as a human being to one another, we need to respect one another. If a relationship is not working out, please, for the love of God, leave. Don't kill yourself. Don't become a victim. Don't end up being an abuser, all because you're with somebody who has put you through so much, because psychologically, mentally, spiritually, morally, it does affect you and the children. Don't stay in a domestic violence relationship because of the kids, because you're also transferring the negativity to the children. Anyway, we're going to leave this topic for another time. The next one we'll be having is on women and the children. Thank you so much for tuning in on Facts of Life with Abbilicious, where the truth is being said and told the way it is. Looking forward to next week, Wednesday, where we'll be talking about left hand and the stigmatization and challenge. We will be having a surprise guest, but you know what? We will leave that for you guys to tune in for next week. God bless you. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic week ahead of you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Nelson Spike here, in UK Nollywood headquarters in London. Do you want to be a part of Nollywood? This is your chance. Join the creative team of Nollywood Spotlight, and together we will build Nollywood.
Of life. Fact of Life with Abbilicious is the program where the truth is being said or told the way it is. Heard live on Facebook and live on various social media platforms. Presenter is Abi Ojo every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. UK time with special guest by 7:30 p.m. UK time. Stay tuned and join us this Wednesday night on Fact of Life with Abbilicious is on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So it is easy for me and you to watch it everywhere. Like our page and share it with others. Would you like to advertise and promote your products, businesses, services, work, events, or show on Fact of Life with Abbilicious Program? Then contact us via Gmail, Fact of Life with Abbilicious at gmail.com, or social media mention Fact of Life. Deal with issues such as social, political, entertainment, humanitarian, and charitables. Yes, across the globe is discussed and here live. Don't miss it.